Owlett here with Waywardcharm from Tumblr as well, so it's a little Tumblr fest over here. And we're doing our for now, Doctor Who review, but I don't know how much Wayward's going to contribute to this.
I'm gonna go this way now.
Just that way, this way, whatever way. And so the episode that we're reviewing today is The Almost People, and apologies again for last week when I said the rebel fish instead of flesh. I was sick and it was embarrassing and all sorts of confusing, so sorry about that. And to add to the confusion, I think that Moffat seems to be on this snowballing effect where every episode is just getting more and more confusing. So last night's episode was hella confusing. With the two doctors and the two of everything, really. And I think having two doctors is totally a plus, and they should keep that happening because it's so much fun. And Matt Smith can totally pull it off. It was believable. There was a bit of green screen lineage that made it seem like they weren't really there, but still, it was like bananas in pajamas all over again, but with doctors and bow ties, and it was all very awesome. So I have my notes, as usual. So excuse me if I'm looking down and trying to work out what I'm trying to say. Because I forget when there's like 48 hours between when I started this and when I'm filming. I think that the creature at the end, that flesh monster that fake Jennifer turned into, was hella scary. It was like a combination between Remus Lupin's transformation into a werewolf from the third Harry Potter film and, what was it? And Coraline characters. You know the evil mother in Coraline at the end when she becomes all spindly and spider-like? That thing. So they were already scary on their own, and then combined, they were just even scarier. But that's the end of the episode, and we need to sort of start at the beginning, right? Yeah. So, Amy's not really Amy. Got that, kind of. Don't know when the switch happened, but that's happening. Somehow. We'll work on that later, I'm assuming. 210s has already happened, so we've had two Doc 10s, which was cool, except one was human. Now we've had two 11s, except one's made of flesh and one's not. And I totally had a feeling that they were going to swap shoes or swap something and play like mind games, so I was glad that I was right on that. Like, yes, predictability, and also awesomeness, because it sort of challenges whether or not someone was human or not. Mind you, the Doctor's not human at all, so I don't really know what that proves. Though he's rather aggressive to fake Amy, so that was unexpected and a bit out of character, but if anything we can tell from Moffat now is that he doesn't tend to follow characters. But Matthew Graham was the writer for this, and he was an incredible writer, so kudos to him because they were really well-written characters and a really solid plot. So my hat off, invisible hat off to him. Lol at the John Smith. I will never tire of his name being John Smith because it's from Pocahontas and everything else, and it's just this continuing... Thank you, Waywardcharm, for a Pocahontas approval. It's just this continuing joke, and I just loved how defeated he looked at the fact of being John Smith. And I thought it was a bit weird that Amy was so adamant about, like, not him being the real Doctor, not realising the potential that if she'd kept him around, that could have been the Doctor that died in the astronaut episode. But I remember that Moffat said that he was adamant that the real Doctor died in the astronaut episode and not a clone, so that was never going to happen. But we can dream. I did love that he said, "I am and always will be the optimist," which is a very lovely quote, but not true, I'd like to point out, or at least not in my mind, because what my friend Ems brought up is the fact that this Doctor has yet to have received any repercussion for his actions. Like in the past, 10 and 9, whenever they did something major, it sort of had repercussions to their own character and the flow of storyline, but 11 seems to have turned into some kind of ancient Roman problem solver, and by that I mean he just sort of kills things that gets in his way, which is not the way of the Doctor. I mean, he wiped out that entire fish species from season 5 that were in the... Were they in Rome? Yes, okay. This time, Venice? Either way. The fish from Venice, those ones, he wiped them out without really finding a better solution. And then when he met... the Silence, as opposed to questioning why they had been on Earth all that time and what their purpose was, aside from just making us forget things. Like, there would have been a reason for that. It couldn't have just been them breeding underground for funsies, right? Like, he just wiped them all out. He was like, no, I'm just going to make everyone kill you on sight, which just didn't seem to make sense, because with the previous series, when he had to deal with the underground aliens and the fact that they'd been there before humans, he was trying to create a peace and stop a war and save both races, but he seems to have just sort of shrugged that off, and now it's like, your cough annoys me, off with your head, sort of thing. And that's just very it's impractical and very immoral, and I don't know what Moffat has in store to deal with that, or if he's even going to deal with that, or if he's too busy doing crazy baby tangent with Amy Pond to care, but that's sort of annoying, because he can't just keep going around willy-nilly killing off species and then being like, wah, 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 care about my species, I'm the last one left, unless he just wants to exact revenge on all the species so that they're all the last one left and it can just be one giant endangered species party. Maybe. I don't know. I thought it was really sweet that the fake doctor, or was it the real doctor, it got confusing at times, was like, you'll know I'm come back when I nickel your biscuits. That was a really cute line. I was like, oh, biscuits. But that's random. And I did like the fact that, once again, people who have seen Party Animals would have appreciated the whole Joe and Danny sort of bonding, because in the original series, Joe is his boss and she's really rather controlling and doesn't really care about Danny in the way that she should, or respect him. And then to see the, Eleven sort of give Miranda a kiss on the cheek, it was like, yay, reconciliation between Joe and Danny as well. So you were like winning on 2 fangirl levels, or fanboy levels, or fan person level, which was awesome. And I loved the many catchphrases shot throughout, like Yowza and Geronimo. It was all very adorable and ridiculous, because Eleven is, if anything, adorable and ridiculous. That seems to be one consistency, or 2 consistencies, running throughout. What is going on with the red balloon imagery? Or am I the only one who's noticed this? Like, you had the red balloon there's been red balloons in previous episodes, there's red balloons with Amy's, there's red balloons going as far back as Family of Blood and stuff with Tennant. So Moffat doesn't really believe in coincidence, does he? Or is it just this thing that they're going on? Theories, conspiracy theories, actual facts, please feel free to send them my way, because I don't get what's going on with the red balloon thing. I'd very much like to know, because this has been an inter-season link, not just this season or Moffat season. This goes back, way back. So please tell me if you know, because that would be nice. And that possibly had to be the creepiest ending ever. That crazy one-eyed patch nurse birthing chamber thing of random intense horror. Like, even scarier than the flesh creature was that. So we still have one more episode to go. I know that America and England have already seen that, so you already know what's happening there. We don't in Australia, and that was just scary. Like, what the hell is going on? I would very much like to know as soon as possible. And I think we're going to get all sort of river revelations happening if the internet scuttlebutt is anything to go by. But I can wait 6 more days to find out, I guess. And in The Confidential, Karen Gillan was totally a supporter of having 2 doctors. She was all like, no, I liked having 2 around, yay. So she's definitely in the John Barrowman sort of category of the more doctors, the better sort of thing. So kudos to her for being like that. And I also liked that Rory Williams, when he was asked to step away from fake Amy Pond, instead of saying, no, I won't, he said, no, and why? Which means he now has this... You can see that he's grown to trust the doctor better, because before he was always like, we don't trust the doctor, I don't really know what he's doing, I don't really want to go. I mean, it's probably not in his best interest to trust the doctor, really, but it's sort of showing this growth of character. So that was nice and unexpected. And also character building, because he'd learnt from the experience with Jennifer and Flesh Jennifer that they were all deceptive. Well, some of them were deceptive and but I mean, Flesh Amy didn't really know that she was Flesh Amy, but he still didn't just go, no, I won't, I'm going to just defend her. He seems to have grown to realize that Amy, or Flesh Amy, doesn't really respect him and treat him quite the way that he might have thought maybe the original Amy did, or would have. So he was like, why? And then he slowly stepped away. But that was still heartbreaking, because that would have been utterly terrifying as Flesh Amy to just realize that your 2 best friends have turned against you and have decided that you're not the real Amy, even though every fiber of your being tells you that you are. Like, that's mind-boggling stuff. But that's pretty much it. And I said it quite quickly, so I hope you were with it, because I can't really add subtitles. And I hope I've said every name right this time, so we don't have any more Rebel Flesh Fish slip-ups, because that was awkward. But that is it. And I shall see you all next week for probably, oh my gosh, goodness gracious, what the hell's happening, revelations about River Pond? Well, maybe! River Song. So yes, let's just leave now before it gets any worse. Toodles!